Well, these are two guys that have been together for years. You know, they've been riding together for over 12 years, and they just know each other. They don't have to talk about their feelings necessarily. There's a lot of unspoken understanding between them. They're very, very comfortable with one another. They respect each other, and they have a sense of humor together. And I just like them. One of the things about Viggo is just that a certain sense of loyalty. He's a man of his word. He's been very, very busy of late, and you know, it probably would have been easier on him and his life if he didn't do this project. In a way, he had lots of responsibilities, and he's got his own publishing company and that kind of thing. But he promised me he'd do it, and he's been here and he's been working his butt off, and he's been, you know, great attitude. And one of the things about Hitch and Cole's relationship is that Hitch really supports Cole. Hitch really is the reason Cole's still alive and able to do what he does. She brings a certain freshness, vitality, honesty. She's beguiling in a way. She's not calculated. It's definitely a character-driven piece. I mean, it's really about human beings and them going through what they go through in their lives, and relationships and love and friendship and betrayal and forgiveness and lying. And, you know, it's very much character-driven. I mean, there's some really good action in it, you know, and there's hopefully some tension and some kind of classic Western kind of things that take place, but it's very much a character-driven piece. All the actors I'm extremely proud of, and that's all the way down to the extras. You know, we had a really great group of townspeople that were very devoted and dedicated to being real people and not just somebody in the background walking around. But, you know, between Jeremy and Viggo and Allie, Renee, and Lance and Adam and the three aldermen, Tim Spall and Tom Bauer and Jimmy Gammon, all of whom are just wonderful actors, you know, and were willing to partake in this. Not the biggest parts in the thing, but they're just great together.
It's a beautiful story about friendship, really. At the heart of it, that's what it's about. In difficult times, I mean, times quite different from our own, I guess. Different standards of behavior, in some ways, higher standards of politeness and chivalry and all that, and even the sort of language they use, but in another way, much more direct and brutal way of living, you know, especially on the western frontier, which is where Appaloosa is, middle of nowhere, as you can see. I think that Virgil's quite taken with her right away. He's smitten, you know, he's kind of blinded by, you know, her energy and her vivaciousness and all that. And I think Everett doesn't quite see it that way, but he just watches his friend and figures, well, you know, it's about time my friend, who's always about the work and being very serious, you know, in his life, and not really had a lot of close relationships with anyone except me, and certainly not with women. It's nice to see him sort of let loose a little and have some fun, but as it gets more serious, that relationship, I see it as problematic because I don't, you know, he's a very good friend of mine, and I think she's going to break his heart, really, at some point, and it's going to be not only bad for him as a person, but it's going to be bad for what we do for a living. It's a distraction. I see it in practical terms as potential trouble. Very few Westerns have been as attentive to detail in terms of the period look of the costumes and props, the behavior, the town itself. You know, it's a mixture of new and old buildings. There's a lot going on. The art design, everything's been done really well. It's a very layered look to the movie, and very layered in terms of characterization so far. I mean, you know, obviously I haven't seen the movie put together. We're still shooting it, but we've shot most of it, and I can tell that Ed's being very, very attentive to detail in every aspect. And it's nice to work on something like that. The woman that I meet, named Katie, was played by Ariadna Gil, who is a very fine actress from Spain, who I worked with before in a movie called A la Triste. She is very different than Ali, you know, Renee's character, but Ariadna's character, Katie, has an effect on Hitch, too. He becomes somewhat more awkward or boyish around her, you know, just as it happens to Virgil. But I don't think that it's not, there isn't manipulation in that relationship, really. He keeps a certain amount to himself. You know, he's a good friend to Virgil Cole, loyal to him, and I think that Virgil Cole probably trusts Everett Hitch more than anyone else in the world, as far as I can tell. Specifically because Everett's very honest with him, you know, even when it's difficult, or it's difficult to find a way to bring things to Virgil's attention that he might not want to hear. Which is kind of the definition of a good friend, someone who tells you the things that other people are afraid to tell you.
It's been a lot of fun, a lot of dust storms, a lot of horses, a lot of corsets, and fantastic dresses. I can't complain. I mean, Viggo and Ed and Jeremy and Lance at work every day. I mean, who can complain? It's not a bad day at the office. There's a lot of mystery surrounding Mrs. Allison French, and I think that's partially what was so appealing about playing a character like her. Even in reading the book, there's not so much that you can presume about her. There aren't many conclusions that you can draw based on the information that the writer gives. So you kind of have to fill in the blanks for yourself. She rolls into town with supposedly $1 in her pocket and a deceased husband. And you don't get to know much more about her past, except that she plays piano, and we don't know why she's come to town or what she's looking for or what she's about. And what's most interesting about it is as the story unfolds, as her relationship with Virgil Cole builds and her relationship with Everett builds, you don't need to know. And I find that fascinating. Well, Ed called, and that was the start of it. I thought, well, I can pretty much just give you a blind blanket yes right now. Whatever it is that you're going to go do that you would like me to come and join you on, I'll be there. So that was a big part of it. And then, of course, he sent the script along, and I was sold. I love the ambiguity of the character. I love that there's so much mystery surrounding her. I love her determination. I love that she's so weak, and yet she's so determined to do the best she can. She's a survivor anyway. It's an interesting juxtaposition. I found that despite the questionable morality of the choices that she makes, I didn't need to vilify her when I was reading the script. And I thought, wow, what an interesting truth. She's just human. She's not all good or all bad. She's somewhere in between, and you can kind of empathize as she stumbles along and tries to make her way. I've never played a character like that, and I thought it would be really interesting to explore. You know when you hold the script in your hands when it's special. I loved how raw and honest the story was. I love that these people are just so human, and that their humanity just spills without being affected in some way or saccharine in some way. It's just real. And I think that's what makes a great film. Regardless the genre, it's just going to be a really good film.